What's going on, my fellow Jedi and Padawans? Welcome back to another Jedi gaming video. Thank you guys so much for coming back to the channel, and if you guys are new, welcome. Sorry for the little bit of stuffiness. You know those allergy seasons are rip-roaring and punching me in the stomach, just like this build right here with the Assassin's Cowl and our Arc Hunter, getting those crazy melees, chaining our combination blow, Gambler's Dodge, and Invisibility with this build to just annihilate everything in our path, basically stacking up our melee damage with 1-2 punch and everything up to 1,000 times what it usually is. So it is crazy how much damage and how much invisibility we have with this build, still S tier even in Season of Defiance. So as always, starting off right here with our abilities, aspects, and fragments, and showing how everything kind of comes together for that nice 1,000% increase to our damage. So it's basically like 100 times what we're doing normally. So if we're punching somebody for an even 1,000 with everything proc together in this build, it's going to do roughly 100,000 damage on that enemy. So for our super, we're going with that Gathering Storm, definitely the best for PvE, juicing bosses, champions, whatever it may be. Now for abilities, your jump really doesn't matter. I usually always go with triple jump, and then for our grenade, I went with pulse, just is the best in my opinion for that PvE realm, especially with how we have this built out. We're going to get this back very, very quick. Now for our dodge and melee, it is important that we have Gambler's Dodge matched with Combination Blow. This gives us the feedback loop of, with this, we defeat targets to gain our class ability back, plus we get health, and then once we have that Gambler's Dodge, we dodge near enemies to get our melee back. So you can see we dodge, get our melee, get our dodge, and it is that perfect feedback loop. Now, for our first aspect right here, flow state. Defeating a jolted target makes you amplified. While you are amplified, your dodge recharges more quickly, you are more resilient when dodging, and our reload is increased. We're going to get that amplified very quickly with this build, so it gives us all of those perks. For our second aspect, which feeds into that damage multiplier, we have Lethal Current. After dodging, our next melee attack has increased range, jolts the target, which procs our other aspect as well, and creates a damaging aftershock. Damaging a jolted target with a melee also blinds them, so we're able to jolt targets for overload and use that unstoppable. So this right here helps with that damage because of the jolting, and we get the crazy range that pairs with Combination Blow, which stacks up to ×3, and we can do everything with jolted and blinding and stunning overloads and unstoppables. Now onto our fragments right here, super important for our damage multiplier, Spark of Feedback. Taking melee damage briefly increases our outgoing melee damage, plus it gives us that 100 in or resilience category with the stats you see down on that left side below. So this thing definitely helps us with that melee, getting that crazy defeats, going invisible with Assassin's Cowl. Next for me, I chose to do Spark of Magnitude, so that pulse grenade lasts a little bit longer, especially like I said earlier, we're getting that grenade back very, very quickly, so having that linger, being able to kind of spam that as well as our melee, just helps for that endgame activity, add clear, whatever you may be using it for. Next, right here, we have Spark of Resistance, also very important for that end game. While we're surrounded, we are more resistant to incoming damage, since we're going to be up close and personal with that build and shotgun and that Combination Blow melee. This helps us stay alive for the end game, like I said. And last but certainly not least, our arc grenades are also going to jolt targets with Spark of Shock here, which helps us proc those aspects that we have, and that jolt can stun overload champions and just helps in general with chaining targets together for that ad clear. Now for weapons in your kinetic slot, you can really go with whatever you're thinking. I personally went with a pulse rifle and my Smiter Marine here with Demo and Firefly. One, so I could get that pulse grenade back, plus this deals with our only champion that we haven't with our abilities in Barrier. Next off, I'm using the Basso Ostionato, which is actually a Neomuna weapon that has 1-2 punch on this, so when we hit every pellet, it gives us a buff to melee damage, which helps with, like I said, that 100 times to our damage when we have 1-2 punch proc. There are a lot of shotguns that have this on there. I also even have a found verdict with it. Now for our heavy weapon, I'm going with Thunderlord because we do have some mods on our armor that help with this, plus it is very good with that arc synergy and stunning overload champions and just juicing bosses in general. When we move on to our artifact right here, not really doing too much besides our champion mod and our anti-barrier pulse right here with shatter orbs, so we can have that breaking of shields for more orbs with our arc as well as our void. And then we're also using volatile flow so that shotgun can also get volatile rounds. Now, when we move on to our helmet and our armor mods right here, Assassin's Cowl, we have Vanishing Execution, Powered Melee Final Blows grant us invisibility, and restore health and shield. Finisher and Final Blows against more powerful targets increase this duration and give us back more health. Why this thing pairs so good for that endgame activity with Combination Blow and our Gambling Dodge. Now, on top of that, like I said, we're going to be able to spam our abilities with this build for a few reasons, as well as get our super back very fast. So first off, we have hands on. We get that super energy when we get those melee defeats, and since that's basically all we're doing with this build, we're getting our super back in like 45 seconds, so it makes it so easy to do. And on top of that, we are using Dynamo, which also reduces our super when we are dodging near targets, so you can see how those pair together with Combination Blow and then also our Gambler's Dodge, since we're going to be using them pretty often and almost consistently with this build next to enemies. Both of these are going to give us our super back so fast, like I said, in about 45 seconds. And then finally, we're using that Harmonic Siphon so our Thunderlord can help us create a few extra orbs. Now, when we move on to our arms right here, for that ability spam, we're creating orbs with heavy-handed and those melee final blows, and then we're getting our grenade back faster with double impact induction. So when we cause damage with those constant melee attacks, we're getting our grenade back as well. So like I said, grenades also coming back very fast, about 10 seconds when you're getting constant defeats with your melee. Next on our chest piece right here, I was trying to think of what to go with for this build to make it even better for that endgame activity, and with the changes to the mod system, we have this emergency reinforcements. So when we do get critically wounded and our shield gets broken, we gain that damage reduction, which does pair with our Fragments, which gives us reduction near enemies as well. It does consume 3 of our armor stacks, and the more armor stacks that we have, the longer that duration is. So it's very nice for that endgame activity. It is basically what Protective Light was back when we had that as one of our mods, and then we have Arc Reserves for that Thunderlord as well. Now, on top of that, for our endgame, again, we're going to have Recuperation, giving us health again on those orb pickups, as well as Innervation to give us our grenade cooldown on orb pickups, which we are getting from our melees. So like I said, the spam is absolutely gnarly. And then Arc Scavenger again for our Thunderlord, because it's definitely one of the best exotics in the game for damage and just super easy to use. And last but certainly not least, right here on our class item, Distribution, double bomber. So those bombers are giving us our grenade when we dodge. So we're using that consistently with that melee gamblers. And then Distribution, we're also getting all of our abilities to cooldown when using our class ability. So it's just another way for us to get everything just in case we do happen to lose our abilities. And the spam of our melee is basically all we're doing with this build. With that shotgun paired in there, we're getting our supers back in like 45 seconds, if not faster. Our grenades back in like 10 seconds, if not faster, depending on how many enemies are in that area. We're able to go invisible super often with this build, again on those melee defeats. And this is perfect for that end game because Thunderlord is absolutely nasty. Our melees can do upwards of 100k or more just on one single punch on those targets. And with that Gathering Storm, one of the best supers in the game for damage. So very good end game build still. S tier always for that Arc Hunter. One of the best, if not the best, Arc Hunter build for sure with this helmet, and just in general. You can kind of switch your weapons up depending on what you're going into, but Assassin's Cowl, combination blow, as well as that Gambler's Dodge. It's a tail as old as time and is so much fun to use. Very easy to get to proc as well, and it is so effective. So hopefully y'all can try this out. Definitely still an S tier build, like I said. I know I've been focused on Strand, Solar, and Void builds this year, but this Arc build definitely still hot and heavy. So thank you guys again for that support. Truly appreciate it. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.